Wow, what an introduction. And now you get to hear me. It is a pleasure to be here. Every year that I get to come and speak to you guys, it really is a fun day for me because it's not every day I get to brag on my players. And for sure, it's probably the only time they're going to hear me brag on them in front of them, especially this year. So it's good for them to get out and get to experience that. So I appreciate you inviting me and allowing me to bring some players to experience this. Pretty unique thing happened when I came in today because we're leaving on Sunday to go to Charleston, and I noticed on the login sheet we had a Citadel visitor here. And after speaking to Jonathan, he's actually in the athletics department, and we're practicing at the Citadel on Sunday at 3:30. So it's pretty ironic that we were able to cross paths today, and it was a pretty neat thing to see. I'll start a little bit with last season, because I gave you a preface of what I thought the season would be when I was here. The season was a little bit rocky in the sense of injuries and instability. When we had our full team, we didn't lose a game. We had a really good team. We did accomplish a lot of things, but unfortunately, we missed players from the first game, throughout the season a lot, and then the very last game. So we had a lot of adversity to overcome, but I feel like our guys grew through that. It put our younger guys in spots that they probably shouldn't have been in, but we're getting some of those benefits now. And one of those, and I'll introduce him more formally in a minute, was Major Dawson, who came to our program last year as a sophomore for the first time, and was kind of clueless to what was going on, and was in that role behind one of our seniors, and then he ended up starting the very first game. He ended up starting the Arby's Classic against the now number 8 player in the country who signed at Duke. We won't talk about how that went. Actually, we will. The game started against is his name Curry? Evans, Isaiah Evans. So he's a phenomenal player, obviously, signed at Duke. And the game started with a tip, and he gets loose. He's going to go up and dunk this thing to start the game off. And Major comes out of nowhere and pins him on the backboard. Very first play of the game. And then I don't know what happened after that. But it was like a moment that was like, holy crap, we're putting that on his career highlight right there, because that was the most impressive block I've ever seen. But anyway, we got a guy in the program that got a lot of minutes. Ended up being able to get a all-region team, and ended up starting in the state tournament game as well. We were the only team to be able to repeat going back to the state tournament. There were 2 teams that were probably favored to show back up last year that did not make it, and we were the only one that was able to do that. So 2 state tournament appearances in 2 years has truly been a blessing for me, especially overcoming some of the adversities that we had. Fast forward into the offseason, we lost a lot of familiar names. We lost 2 guards, Jonathan Gillespie and Brady Stump, who are probably the most decorated players to come through Dobyns Bennett. Jonathan was a 4-time all-region player. He got all-region all 4 years. Brady was an all-district, 4-time, all-region 3-time, player of the year. Both of them are in the top 5 in scoring. Jonathan holds the all-time 3-point record at DB. Brady holds several records. And those guys were household names in our community. And losing those guys, people were like, I guess the cupboard's dry. I guess enjoy your last 2 seasons, Coach. What you got coming back? And, we'll find out what we've got. And we had young guys that I love. Last year they didn't lose a game in JV. They went 30-something and 0. Freshman team, a phenomenal year as well. And I knew that we had a lot coming back, but I also knew that we had to make sure that our style fit our team. So this year and this season, we challenged these guys a little bit more than we should have this summer. I wanted, and I learned a lesson here. I put us against the absolute toughest competition I could find. I called coaches from all over the state and said, hey, we're coming to Nashville. I want all the smoke. Give me somebody that I can show our guys this is where we got to get, and we're going to show them, and it's going to motivate them, and it's going to help them understand where we're going to get, because we have the potential to get there. So we did. I mean, we went through a gauntlet, and we played the toughest summer that I've probably had here with the most inexperienced team that I had coming back, and it was terrible. I mean, it was awful. Not only could we not win very much, we struggled to compete. And struggle to compete, I thought might be a little motivation. It was the exact opposite. It was like intimidating, like, why are we playing all these good teams, Coach? Why are we playing against the all-star teams? Like, why don't we play some guys we can beat? And I knew in my mind, we're going to have a big problem here because we don't have the mindsets to embrace that challenge. Because 2 years prior to that, I had a veteran team that I took to Memphis. And when they saw these Memphis teams that are supposed to be all this hype, they said, Coach, they're not very good. We can beat them. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know if we can or not, but I appreciate your confidence. So I thought we were going to have that again. But what I failed to realize was the youth and the inexperience did not have that same response. So needless to say, it helped us in understanding our players better. It helped me understand our individual talents. And we're going to have some of the most skilled players in the area. And when I say area, I mean most of the state. In the end. But when they're sophomores and they're juniors, they're not quite mature enough. They're not quite ready. So we've got to make sure that we get them to that place when they're ready. And they're going to be there, but they're not yet. So we have found a system that I absolutely love. It took a lot of effort to go around and talk to a lot of coaches. This team is going to be one of my favorite teams to coach in the end. And when I say the end, I mean this season, because the growth is so drastic, and we get to take a group of young guys and make them and help them establish a culture that we really know that proves to be successful. And so I'm really honored to have these guys here today. I'll start with Charlie. He can come on up. Charlie is our lone senior. We started off when Charlie was a freshman with 15 players, and this is what remains. Doesn't look like Charlie is one of the fiercest competitors I've coached. He has never really gotten into the role of getting a lot of attention that he deserves. Very good player, but kind of got overshadowed. He was on the state championship team, played a good role coming off the bench on that team, and then last year was probably one of our most consistent players. Shot 40% from the three, yet not known as a three-point shooter. Had several games. He led us in rebounds. Not the most athletic kid we had on the team, not the biggest kid we had on the team, but definitely the toughest. And he willed us to a lot of wins. And this year, he's going to get those. He's going to get to receive some of those needed accolades and recognitions, because he's a great player, but he's a great kid. He's a humble kid. He's actually really, really smart. Like, I know it don't look like it. Charlie is a really, really smart kid. He's going to get a full ride probably to wherever he wants to go because of that. He'll also have some opportunities to play basketball. But he's just a great kid. And I'll tell you my favorite thing about Charlie, while I'm embarrassing him, is the fact that his leadership has grown every year. Because at first he was a little bit bitter, not a great teammate, might cheap shot you a little bit, like you should be doing to the other team, like he might do that to us in practice. He was trying to win the game, but you don't really do your teammates like that, right? So we grew through that, and now he has been a phenomenal leader that we are taking after. And if you watch us play, we model after a lot of what he does. And he's been a great asset to us, basketball-wise, but he's been a great asset to us in other ways as well. So our success is going to be largely hinged on his leadership ability, and right now I've been very, very impressed with that. Let's just get Major. Major's a guy that come to us last year. He did not play his freshman year. Obviously, we wanted him to play. He's really athletic. He's got decent size, and right, and he's just a great kid. He comes from a great family, and we wanted him in our program and couldn't quite convince him his freshman year. But last year we got him, and our goal was to kind of let him ease into it and kind of just enjoy it and be around it and see if it took root. And then we threw him into the fire. It was the very first game of the season where he should not have played a whole lot. He's starting the game and doing a very, very good job throughout the year. And this year I've probably seen more growth in his game than anybody else, just from the effort standpoint, the understanding, and the physicality. He has done a really, really good job. And you're going to see a lot of highlights out of him, but you'll also see a lot of consistency, which I appreciate. Just another good player that you're going to be able to recognize. Just a junior as well, so he'll be back again. Dace, I'll go ahead and go with you since you're a junior. Dace Potts has been in our program. He is one of the 4 guys that are entering their 3rd year with us. And I say 4 guys because usually you have multiple older guys, veteran guys. We have 4 that have been in our program. Everybody else, the other 8, are entering just their 2nd season with our basketball program. And while that don't seem like a terrible thing, it's really hard to know what has been going on. You know, what we've been running for years, what we've been doing. It's really hard to get that carryover. But Dace has been awesome. You know, he's had a good year last year, really playing some key minutes and key roles. And then this year has turned into be one of our major players. Had a really good game last night, even though it was his first game back after suffering a little bit of an injury. Actually, he played the first game too, but he had a little bit of an injury and was out for some scrimmages and preseason stuff. But another great kid, another great asset to our program. The sophomore, I meant to bring 2 of them, but apparently I left one of them out of a group chat, so I got to try to make that up to him today or something. Or maybe we just won't tell him. Maybe let it fester and make him a little bit mad. But Cam Hayworth, he's going to be a name that you'll remember in the future. He's a phenomenal athlete, multiple sport guy, really good at everything he does when he applies himself. And he is a really great kid, but he just doesn't know how good he can be. And I can tell him that because I tell him every day. I'm pretty hard on him because he could be special. He could be a guy that is Kingsport renowned for a long time in multiple sports. And I can appreciate his work ethic. He kind of gets it from this one right here. Charlie is from the old school, the guys that come in before school. They can wake up before their classmates. They can put shots up before anybody else gets in the building. And Cam is another guy. He's in there at 5:50 multiple times a week, shooting the basketball. We'll go over to TAC. He'll get some buddies in there and they'll shoot, and then he'll go home and get ready for school. So he's got that knack for wanting to get better. He's just got to figure it out in other ways on the floor, which will come with maturity. And I tell them all the time, they just don't know what they don't know. And you can't speed that process up. You can just keep holding them accountable, and once it clicks, they'll figure it out. And then that's when they go to another level. So, again, these guys I'm really excited about leading our team this year. I'll elaborate a little bit more about our schedule and stuff, but I thought maybe you would want to ask them a question. I think Major's got a song he might sing for you. He's pretty talented. So,
would you tell us the height of these 4 young men?
Well, I'm 6'7".
I'm 6'3". I'm a good 6 foot.
I'm 6'4".
I have a question.
yeah.
How do you keep, first off, I want their hair. How do you keep the girls away from these handsome young men?
It's easier than you might think. They take care of that themselves.
Dave doesn't like to keep him away. He likes to be attention.
Are colleges allowed to contact them now?
They can at certain times in the year, yeah. And most of the time, and most colleges at the smaller levels will contact guys. Well, I can go into details, but they contact them later in their high school careers, mostly their senior year, if at all. And quite honestly, those days are becoming fewer and fewer, and that's for a lot of reasons. But college don't really recruit freshmen because they don't like freshmen, and they can get them in their sophomore or junior year transfer is a lot more lucrative because their maturity is better, their minds are more mature, and they know they're going to make it. They're not going to be in that 6-month window of dropping out, which is a pretty high rate. So there's several factors, but the ones that stick with it and stay in the system for multiple years have a good chance. And some of these guys are going to get some of those contacts as well.
Who are their favorite NBA players?
You probably don't want.
Mine's probably Kevin Durant.
Mine's probably Luka Doncic on the Mavs.
Derrick Rose.
Mine's definitely Paul George.
What colleges are they looking at or wanting to go to, and what majors?
Oh, good question.
Good question.
What was the second part of the question?
What major?
What do you want to major in?
I'm looking at majoring in psychology, and I'm not looking at any specific colleges right now. I'm just being lazy and putting it off to my senior year.
I want to major in exercise science because I want to be a physical therapist when I grow up. And I'm looking at UT if I don't play basketball, but if I'm given the opportunity to, I'm going to go play ball somewhere.
I was looking at Milligan, and I don't know what I'm going to do for college, but
I kind of have something going on with Virginia Tech for baseball right now, but I want to be part of business as a major.
Yeah.
I go and ask Major if that hair lifts off before a ball hits.
He's really 6'3", but we give him 4 inches. Makes it more intimidating.
I wondered if that's why they.
Yeah.
That had something to do with intimidating the opposition.
Here's wanted to know who their favorite Poore child was.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's not Pierce or Braylon. I forget her name. June.
Parker Jr.
Parker June, the little girl. That's definitely my favorite.
I think it depends on the day of the week.
I agree with Charlie.
So, Chris, would you
Yeah.
talk about playing in the TAC versus
Yeah.
the dome?
Yeah, for sure. So last year I was here, and they were fixing the TAC for us, and we had high hopes. And our preseason was all over the place. 7 different practice gyms in the preseason. No stability. It was very, very hard to navigate. Once the TAC opened up in December, we started practicing there, and immediately the impact was felt. Like, it felt like home. Our locker room, they did a tremendous job allowing us to make that a very nice space for our players that they utilize and they enjoy. And then the floor itself gave an atmosphere during the games that was very hard to get in the dome. The way that the crowd sat right on top of us, it was the first game I remember coaching there. I was like, oh my goodness, this place is loud. And it was just the way that the layout was. That atmosphere was really fun. And I'll say they did a tremendous job getting a facility ready. And we actually played in the nicest facility anywhere around here. I mean, we went to any other high school gyms and played. We have the best gym, and it was our backup facility. And that's pretty remarkable and pretty special. It's something that we certainly don't take for granted. And it was I enjoyed it, and are very appreciative for all the people that put in the work to do that. Yeah.
In years gone by, you've talked about GPA. Do you
Yeah.
still kind of keep their nose to the grindstone as far as grades are concerned?
Yeah, we have our standards that we expect. We actually had a conversation on the way over here. I'm not going to. So I'm glad you reiterated that and put him on the spot. But no, we have expectations for our players, and I'm very honest with them. I don't have a cut standard for everybody in our program. Our freshmen, I'm a little bit more lenient with because they're getting into the high school. They're starting to fill it out. As sophomores, you need to make sure that your attendance is better, your tardies are fewer, and emails aren't really coming into the coach as much. By your junior year, I shouldn't be getting much of that. And if we are, we're probably going to have to try to find a way to weed you out. And by the time you're a senior, maybe the only one, you're going to be pretty much what our expectations are. And I've been very blessed to have really high character kids that came in that I inherited, but we've also been able to do a good job at making sure that they take the steps that are needed. So as far as GPA is concerned, we don't really talk about GPA. What we talk about is expectations in the classroom, and we want you to do your best. For some of these guys, like Charlie, it would be straight A's. I mean, he doesn't need to have a B in any class. Some other guys that may not have the mental capacity, maybe a good grade for them would be a B, or even in certain classes, such as Algebra 1 with Coach Reed, maybe even a C to get through the class. But we try to make sure, and the one thing we look at when players are not doing well in classes, I have 3 expectations. No missing assignments, no tardies, and no teacher referrals. You're sitting there, you're paying attention, and we're not having this conversation about, because I've never had a player fail a class where they turned in all their work. And that's the first marker of a player that's not doing what they're supposed to do, is they're not turning stuff in when they're supposed to. But like I said, he's a sophomore. Next year, when he comes back and talks to you, he'll be like, you know what, I have no missing assignments, I have straight A's. So there's an example of the progression that we'll make. But no, I say it in good fun. These are great kids. But yes, we do take academics seriously. Our GPA on this team is really strong. It's something we really don't have to even discuss very often because they take care of their business.
So you said you were going to be practicing in the Citadel gym. Are you going down for a tournament or something this week?
We try to take our players and give them experiences at different places throughout the season. We've been to the Bahamas in the past. We've been to Destin last year. This year we chose Charleston. And we do it for a couple reasons. We do it, one, for this team in particular, we're doing it to get together and start our leadership classes and start our team culture. This team doesn't really know each other that well. You know, we have guys that are into our program for the first year. We have guys that are coming together out of football and into our culture, and we're trying to teach them what we expect and make sure that all the things are clear for them as far as the expectations. So we're using this opportunity to get out and do some of those things for them, and then let them see various cities. And we always try to include a college or a campus in there to give them that little bit of extra just understanding of having a little bit bigger perspective on things. And the Citadel, I've never been on campus. I was talking earlier about it, but I'm excited to see it, and to get in there and practice in their facility is pretty special. So we enjoy doing those things. And we took these guys, I think all y'all went except Major, to Appalachian State earlier this year. We did that to witness a college level, and Dustin Kearns, some of you may know Dustin, a Kingsport native, a phenomenal program, runs it the right way, the expectations are spot on, and I wanted our guys to see what a practice like that is. And I can say, and they may have picked up on something I didn't, I can say that I watched an entire college practice and didn't hear a curse word from a coach, from an assistant coach, from a manager, or for a player while they were practicing. And it's not like they were not getting after it. It's not like it wasn't physical. It's extremely physical, but it was high character. And that is very uncommon. You can go to a lot of college practices, and I probably wouldn't want to take my son to several of them, but to see that culture and see how it has the benefits and the impact, I wanted these guys to experience it. So we went to a college practice there. We also went and experienced ETSU with one of my friends, Coach Savage, and got to give them some experience from our local school as well. So I try to give them some experiences outside of our area and aspirations of college and what it looks like, because it's a little different.
Can you tell us about the conference, the other teams, expectations?
Well, it won't take long. There's only 4 now. When I got here, we were the big 8, then we were the big 7, then we were the big 5 last year, now we're the big 4. So I'm not sure how much longer we can dwindle teams, but the 4 teams are ourselves, Science Hill, Westridge, and Boone. Thank you. Of those schools, quite honestly and not arrogantly, I feel like we should be right up above most of those or all of those. We should put ourselves in a good spot to get to District 2 in the region. Science Hill will be much improved. I know that's a focal point. Coach Higgins came up from Knoxville, and he's doing a good job building that program back a little bit. They're going to be a lot tougher than they have been the last 2 years, unfortunately. But I think we'll have a good shot at them. And the future, if they don't get us this year, it may be a while till they can track us down. So I'm really excited to keep that rivalry where it's at. And right now it's in our hands.
How do you feel about the middle school programs now?
Well, it's getting better. It's getting better every year, and you know, I brag about Coach Baker when I come in here every year because he started a tribe organization that we now run through the Boys and Girls Club, thanks to Jessica over there. We want our kids when they come into our program to start understanding some of the basics at a very young age. And it's not perfect, but it's one of those things that we feel like if they start in our tribe organization and move up to our middle schools, then when they get to the freshman year, that's not a complete transformation because any consistency is better.
You have a coaches player scrimmage, who wins?
Oh, that's easy. Our coaches are all college players, and we're still just as good now. We're just as good now as we were then, if you know what I mean. So there's no need to get out there and prove anything. I mean, we know what would happen. You want to answer that?
All right, we got one coach under the age of 40. These old dudes are
Hold up. 2 coaches.
Not even close. It wouldn't even be close. They'd have to call a timeout every 3 minutes. They'd be so tired.
Coach, are you ever asked for any help with the ladies, the DB ladies?
No, you know, Coach Francis does a phenomenal job. He does a really good job running his program, and while we talk a lot, you know, about X's and O's and different things that we started doing a chart thing in our practices and holding guys accountable. That's been really good, and you know, he's borrowed some of those ideas, and we bounce ideas off of each other. But you know, I'll give assistance where needed, but I don't think there's much needed there. He does a phenomenal job.
What's the big thing that determines whether you're going to have 4 teams in a conference?
Well, number one thing is school size, the enrollment numbers, and last year what happened that took us from 5 to 4 was the fact that the TWSAA added another classification. So we originally played with 3 classifications, to my understanding of when I started, single, double, and AAA. They added a 4A division that really just took our bottom 3 teams out. So now we're stuck with the 4. And we lost one this coming year, Crockett. They were right on the cusp of being a 4A3, and they actually got to bump down. So it's enrollment.
Who do you all consider your biggest rival?
Right now it's us. It's our own maturity. It's our own mindsets. And if we buy into playing the way that gives us the best chance, our strength, and they hear it all the time, is our depth. We have a lot of players. Probably this is the deepest team I've ever inherited, and we have legitimately 10 guys that can contribute in a game, night in and night out. And usually 7 or 8 guys play major minutes. The other ones sit and help in practice, and hopefully their time will come. But with this team, it's about the energy level, it's about the activity, and it's about a little bit of a mindset, which we've kind of adopted the motto. If any Wichita State fans are in here, play angry. It's sort of just a chippy edge about your game that we play with. And I think in the first 2 games, we have really embraced that idea, and it's something we use regularly. So right now, if we quit fighting ourselves in those moments where we want to be tired or we want to be lazy, we're going to be good. But as far as down the road, Morristown East is good, Sevier County is good in District 2, and then if you go down the road farther, William Blount's solid again. We beat them on a last-second shot last year in the sectional. Bearden's really good, and Maryville's not bad. So, and Oak Ridge is good. They got a good transfer. So there's some teams down there, but honestly, when you get to that stage of the game, a lot of it depends on injuries and what has happened throughout the year. So.
Well, you talked about the atmosphere at TAC earlier. Did you get a chance to make any recommendations for the improvements at the Dome? Before you answer that, I forgot to say something in introducing you.
Yeah.
DB is still the winningest high school basketball program in the country.
Yeah.
2,368 wins.
Yeah, and we still hold. We've actually increased that number from Centralia, and we have extended our state record for the most state tournament appearances. We actually still hold that, which is a pretty long-serving record. So there's 2 tips right there. But you mentioned about the Dome. I really haven't. I've expressed what I liked about the TAC and the transformation. They've changed some things. They've really helped us expand the size of our locker room, which is a huge thing for our players. We have a lot of spaces, but now it's going to be opened up a little bit and give us a lot of opportunities that we didn't otherwise have. And inside the Dome, it's going to be phenomenal. I mean, it's the plans, the expectations. It's not going to disappoint. It'll be the nicest arena, I mean, for sure in high school, anywhere that you could even get to. All right, well, looks like he's cutting me off. Appreciate you. Thank you, guys, and roll Tribe.